You don't know, like, oh, you're all bad. You're all bad. Don't you feel bad that you're all bad?
To this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got PeeWee for unnecessary beef. When the day before they were saying it's a green light on these dudes,
right?
And now I'm in trouble and I got to get a bounce, and where you put your hands up and they punch you in your ribs, and it was just like, this is bullshit.
Yeah,
and
it is, bro.
It sounds like the same type of situation.
Yeah,
like
it is. It is. And it was something to do with when I went back to the Midwest, you know what I mean? And it was something to do with when all the outlaws were there, and the tension was thick. Like I say, you could cut it with a knife. And I said, well, I'm going to go up because I had some personal issues, you know, with those guys and the shit they did with me when I was in the Sinners. I mean, just like one time they jumped me and I fought like 3 of them, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just like personal shit. So I said, I'm going to walk into that crowd. And one of the East Coast guys said to me, because I was from California, hey, man, we're at war with these guys, but if you go do that, you're from the West Coast, we're East Coast. We don't come to the West Coast and start shit with the Mongols and shit, because that's your beef over there. Are we in the same club? So, you know what I mean? I'm telling you, honest to God, Stacks, I was confused on a lot of that stuff. You know, it's like so much politics. And I mean.
And basically, that's what got you into some trouble, right?
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And so how did you end up to where you were? Did you transfer it again?
So what it was hard for me to make a living there, and yeah. I went from the $800 a month for the apartment in the back of the clubhouse. They had another building on the other side with apartments in it. They said, we'll give you one of those apartments. We usually get $2,200 a month. I mean, that's, you know, hey, it's Briscoe, bro. And he said, we'll just charge you $1,600. Bro, I was having problems with the 800.
Yeah.
You know, to come up with that.
Double.
Because when I moved out there, they said, yeah, there's plenty of Teamster jobs, union jobs. There was none. I went to the hall. They said, there's nothing. So they got me hooked up with this guy named Tony, who owned the Cats Club, the place I told you we went to the night I made member.
Yeah.
He gave me a job. He paid me $25 cash an hour. So I worked like 4 hours every night. You know, I come in like at 9 o'clock and close it at 2, whatever. And he paid me $100 a night. If I did have 4 or 5 hours, I was making only like $500 a week. That ain't shit, bro.
No.
You know, that ain't shit. I don't care where you live. That ain't shit. Not even here in Hillbilly Town, you know, in Arkansas. Hillbillies make more money than that. So I was struggling, bro. I just asked the charter. I said, hey, man, why don't you guys let me go and I'll get some guys together and I'll go to Las Vegas. We don't have anybody there, and I'll start a charter there. Because I already talked to Union Hall, man. They had a job lined up and everything for me, you know, and I mean $36 an hour, you know, and I was like, and then I did 2 things. I worked for the convention industry, hauling trailers, you know, moving the crates back and forth on a showroom floor. And then I went on a movie list, And I did so many movies. Any movie you saw, bro, in Las Vegas, like I told you, I worked it. You know, I was a teamster. I drive a camera truck, a grip truck, a prop truck. I drove the artist around one time, or they might stick me in a van for the day, a 15-passenger van, and I drive the crew back and forth from the set to base camp to the set to wherever. Afterwards, I'd take them all to their hotel, to their the casinos they were staying at and stuff like that. So,
Did you meet Sonny Barger at this time?
well, I met Sonny '94 when I was prospecting, and it was funny. He was standing there talking with Chuck Zito, who was doing like some little movie shit. I mean, little tiny granule salt pieces of movies, you know. But
Yeah.
to him, he thought he was Al Pacino, you know. But he was talking to Sonny, and I said, man, I'm gonna go down and get a picture with those guys. And everybody said, don't do it, man, don't do it. So I walked down there and I said, hey, can I get a picture with you guys? They go, yeah. And I put my arms out like this, and I put around Sonny, you know, he stood up like, you know, puffed out his chest. It was pretty funny, you know, and they showed that picture on there. And I walked back up on top of the hill where I was doing a watch, you know, so nobody could walk into our party.
Yeah.
And an Australian brother walks up to me, and he says, hi, mate. You're a big son of a bitch. And I said, yeah. He goes, hey, you mind me getting a picture with you? And I said, no, I don't mind. You know, I mean, what was I going to say to him? You know, you got to introduce yourself to everybody, Stacks. When you're a prospect, you got to literally walk up, hey, I'm PeeWee. I'm a Hells Angel prospect, Minneapolis. You got to say that to every member.
Yeah.
You have to introduce yourself, yeah. So I shake his hand, and that's how we started talking. I introduced myself. And then I took a picture with him, and he walks away, bro. And all of a sudden I hear this, PeeWee! And I look down the hill, and it's Pat.
No.
And he says, what the hell do you think you're doing? I don't even know what the hell he's talking about, right? So I look around like, what? He says, boy, you think you're too cool for school. Now I'm really thrown off, bro. Now I really don't know what the fuck he's talking about. So I go like, what do you mean? And he goes, we'll talk later. We get back to the motel. I said, okay. Oh, I got back there. He just basically told me to not try to build bridges and other charters and countries, and that I should be doing my prospect job and not mingling. I said, well, I was told to introduce myself to everybody, so I'll just stop doing that, you know? He goes, no, you won't. You have to do that. It's one thing or the other, bro. You know what I mean? It's so that's like some of the crazy shit. Like I could keep jumping back and forth telling you, you know, but that was a mind game right there. You know, I was just like, what? I'm too cool for school. Why? Because I took a picture with the guy.
He's like scolding you like a young child that got in trouble, right?
You know what?
Like that.
But you know what? He reached out to me after we just did that last show together last week, Sunday. And he said, hey, you did a good job, PeeWee. And he says, it's not easy being the president, is it? You know, and he's right. And he said, the only thing I ever regretted was misjudging you and sending you down the road. So that meant a lot to me, bro. You know, I mean, it wasn't not like saying, hey, I'm sorry, but he said he regretted it. You know, that he said, you were a good Hells Angel. You were a really good Hells Angel. And I hope your book sells well. And he said, I wish you the best. And I said, thanks, Pat. You know, so I don't know. You know, just because of what he did, I don't hate him or who cares anymore, bro? You know what I mean? If you're in a club, you can keep doing the hate thing. I'm out of the club. I don't really give a shit. You don't know, like, oh, you're all bad. You're all bad. Don't you feel bad that you're all bad?
We're going to get to that. Like, so what's it like to go from San Francisco and start a whole new charter?
Oh,
when you do that, are you the president off the rip? Like, you're calling the shots out there?
No, what we did is when we got there, I had to have 6 guys. So I had 7 guys. I said, let's all sit down and you guys put in who you want to be the president and this. I didn't say, I'm running this. And they all said, we want you to run it, PeeWee. And I said, all right. And I became the president, and it was nonstop. I never, the whole 10 years I was, you know.
What did it feel like to get that patch for the president?
It was cool, bro. It was really cool. It was an honor. You know, I tell you another funny little story was I was with one of the brothers from Richmond. His name is Big Mike, and he was like one of my favorites. He probably hates me now too, like the rest of them all do. But Big Mike was a good dude, man. I really dug the shit out of him, you know. And I enjoyed his company, hanging out with him. And we were staying in the same bungalow in Spain. We went for a world run to Spain, Madrid, Spain. And when we pulled up in the bus that picked us up from the airport, they had a prospect. He couldn't even speak English, Spaniard guy, and he was driving us back to the run site. We get jacked up by these military guys, bro. They're in a sandbag bunker. I ain't bullshitting you. Sandbags. The guy with the machine gun in there, you know, and they're all like, get out of the van, or screaming. They got the machine guns and shit. And you know, we get out, and Big Mike was the president at the time in Richmond. And, you know, he gets out, he's got the little tag on president or whatever it was. And I got my tag on president stuff. So when I get out, not that they couldn't read or anything, but they were trying to like find out who the main guy was, which the Angels don't have like one national president. They don't have that.
Yeah.
And we get out of the van and they're screaming, who's your president? Who's your president?
He's looking, they're all president.
Yeah, so I just yelled out, Bush. You know, we all started laughing, right? Because Bush was the president at the time. I said, Bush. And yeah, we all laughed. As a matter of fact, it was so bad with those guys in the bunkers. They stopping you coming out, going in, coming back out, going in. I went out one time, Stacks, just the one time. And man, the harassment was so unbelievable. I just stayed at the run site and partied and hung around, swam, and did my own thing there. You couldn't really go to town. You couldn't really do much. But, you know, the one time I did get out and we went down to the ocean, we walked around there. And it's just weird, bro, you know. You're walking down the beach and all these beautiful women are walking, these bottom bikinis, no tops, titties hanging out everywhere because it's topless, you know.
Yeah.
And it was nothing to them because, man, I saw this broad with a beautiful rack on her and she's wiping the kid's face off and the kid's, mommy, you know, and her cans are hanging out. I was like, wow, it's crazy.
Do they treat you different? Do people treat you different when you're wearing that patch?
Like, what do you mean? Just like average
anywhere,
people?
like average people? Do you feel like they look at you like different?
Yeah, they were scared. Like the Spaniard people, you know, like, man, when like 400 or 500 of us show up, that scares people. You know, they think we're gonna. And we took over this whole resort called the Excalibur, so it was pretty cool. You know, it was like I can tell you exactly what it was like. They had the big Excalibur sword in the rock by the swimming pool part. And then when we went into the arena part, they had this big arena that we all sat in. We're all the way around it. And they go, this side's the blue side, that side's the red side. So the blue against the red. Then they would have knights come out in blue, in red. They'd sword fight, you know. And we were cheering our guy, the blue guy or the red guy. And it was straight out of the movie. I know you've seen it. Straight out of the movie, The Cable Guy. You know, that's what it was, bro. Swear to God. They come out jolting, you know, hitting each other with the sticks. It was pretty cool. But there was a couple English brothers that were so drunk, they jumped over the railing and started chasing these guys with the swords, you know, because their guy was losing. He was on the ground, and the guy was holding the sword up like, should I ram it? And he's waiting for everybody to give the thumbs up for him to, right? Well, the English guys jump over and they run out there. You ain't killing our guy.